Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we'll be creating a balloon wall for a ginger reveal. The colors are pastel pink and pastel blue. I am using all Gemar balloons, and I double stuffed them, so I had put pink inside white and blue inside white. And what you see me doing now is, because they are double stuffed, they was a little tough to inflate, like it was taking a little longer, so I did have to pump them with the pump first and then put them on the inflator. And yes, I did it with all balloons, and yes, it took a lot of time, just as much time it took to double stuff these balloons. And right now I am just making my dupes to make a quad, and then I'll be twisting two quads together to make a cluster of 8 balloons. Something else I did, and I'll show you when we get to the blue, because the blue, and I only have this problem with the Gemar brand balloons. When you inflate them, and if they double stuff, if you touch them the wrong way, it kind of leave a mark on the balloon. And I got this idea from watching Balloons by Nina, and she put cornstarch on the inside balloon. She wiped it with cornstarch, and then she double stuffed it. And I did that with with all the 5-inch balloons for both colors, pink and blue. And then I end up doing it for some of the 11-inch balloons. I thought the 11 inches would be okay, but no, I was still getting a lot of problems with the 11-inch blue. It didn't get any problem with the 11-inch or 19-inch pink, but I did get problems with the 11-inch blue only, not the 19 inches, but the 11-inch blue. I was getting this problem. And when we get to the blue, I'm going to show you in slow mo. Well, I'm going to slow it down for you guys to see it. But it did take a lot of time, and it was messy, but it does work. I mean, if I have to do it again, I would, just because I don't want those marks on the balloon. They are pretty annoying, and if you gotta do it, you just gotta do it. So that's what I did for the blue and for the pink. And the sizes I use, I use 19, 11, and 5-inch balloons. And it took a double stuffing it. I probably used altogether about 150 balloons each. For each color I end up using altogether, I want to say. I did have some left over, because I believe I end up buying like 200 each color plus 19 inches. That was 25 each in each color. And I had a little bit left from what I double stuff. Only double stuff 150 of each color, and I end up having just a little bit. So I want to say, rounding it out, is about 300 and some odd balloons altogether I end up using for this look. Yeah, but that was pretty much it. And once I end up tying these, as I mentioned, I'll be twisting these two quads together. And I just wanted to keep this, I wanted to slow this down, this whole part, so you guys can see in real time. So once I tie or twist these two quads together, I'm going to have another cluster of 8 balloons, and then I'm going to tie neck to neck each cluster together, and then that will be basically like a whole bunch of 16 balloons. And that's pretty much how I built the wall. I pretty much was tying next to next together, so it looked like that. And now I'm just going to continue to do that. But now you're going to see those little marks I was mentioning on the blue balloons. And I don't know why it didn't show up on the 11-inch blue, but it definitely was showing, the 11-inch pink. There you go. So something like that. And trust me, it was getting bigger. And I even tried putting on gloves, like winter gloves, while I was inflating, to make sure like my nails or anything wasn't touching it, and it still did the mark. I have no clue why. And it was really annoying, but I end up just when I had to do some filler clusters on the wall, I end up unstuffing some of the balloons and just putting some cornstarch on it and then restuffing it. So little marks like that. That's what I end up doing to get rid of those marks. But it definitely took time and it was messy. But it was worth it. At least I didn't have those marks on there. And that's pretty much that with inflation. And then we're going to get started on building this. I just did these two. I just wanted to show you how to do these two. But then I did the rest of the inflation off camera just to... I think I just didn't feel like it takes a lot for me to be on camera. Like I have to get dressed. I have to be presentable. Because, you know, my mod is wearing and everything. So I just didn't feel like doing too much on camera. So, you know, everything was, you know, everything is a process. So we're going to start building it. And I have a lot of learned lessons from this look. I end up using, so I didn't use my pipe and Drake stand. As you guys, if you watch my other balloon wall video, if you haven't, please go watch it. I will leave a link in the description box for this under this video. But I used my pipe and Drake stand last time because I was actually staying at that event. It was for a family member, so it was easy for me to just, you know, take it back with me when the event was over. For this one, it was for a client, and they lived a little. I wouldn't mind using my pipe and Drake stand if it was like a fair distance. I mean, they wasn't too far, but I live in Pennsylvania and it was in Jersey, but it still wasn't too far. But I just didn't want to go back to Jersey to pick it up. So I did end up using a floor lamp for the balloon wall, which wasn't my first time. I used a floor lamp. I have another video about a few videos back, but I used the floor lamp for my daughter's 5th birthday for her balloon wall. And even then it gave me problems, but not as much. Well, I don't know. It gave me problems. So thinking back, I don't know why. Sometimes you just need to bite the bullet. But I mean, each setup is a learning experience, and learning what technique to use for this setup or that setup kind of thing. But I end up using the floor lamp, and I don't think I'm going to do the floor lamp again in the future. Probably not. If I don't end up using my pipe and Drake stand, I may just do something like with the plywood and probably like the PVC pipe or something like that for like the 2 sides or something like that. I don't think I would be using a floor lamp again though. So that's pretty much, and I end up building both the paint. I did the blue off camera, and I'm going to bring it later, but I end up doing this at home, building it kind of sort of and detailing it. And that's, you know, a point right there. I don't think I'm going to be detailing at home anymore, because when I got on site, I end up having to take off some of those details to fill in some like newly found holes that I needed to fill in. And mainly because, you know, when you're transporting the balloons, they move around and, you know, they not the same. You got to reshape it once you get to the site. So it was kind of a waste of time of me, you know, detailing it at home to then have to go on site, and then which was at a residence, so I didn't feel, you know, too much pressure, but I still have to go on site, and I was like basically having to pull off some of those details. And another thing is to keep in mind, and this is a technique that I would have to remember which technique to use when doing these Garland, these walls. So if I do a wall with just all 11-inch balloons, it's going to create a more dense wall, and I won't have too many big gaps to fill in versus me building a wall with 11 and 19 or 17, 16-inch balloons. Those larger balloons create bigger gaps because you're not able to tie those clusters you can tie them together, but it's going to create some big gaps, which means then I should have, which I didn't, I ended up using a different way to fill in the gaps, but I could have used the 260Q where I had, you know, a cluster on one end, or like a dupe on one end and then some 5 inches on the other, and I could have just wrapped it around the balloon to fill in those holes. I was kind of tying like the next to next and just using like these clusters of four balloons to fill in some of these holes. But you know, that's something you learn once you continue to do different walls and different setups. You know, it's something that I'll just remember in the future of what to use when I'm doing this and what to use when I'm doing something else. But yeah, as I mentioned, next time I won't be detailing at home because that was just a waste of time. And when I bring the because I transport them in two, so the pink side and the blue side. And when I got there, I ended up just tying them together to, of course, create the wall effect. And then I end up filling in the middle part with some clusters and stuff like that to fill in the gaps. But yeah, this part was definitely a waste of time, which is fine. We learn. Yeah, we learn. So that's fine. I know next time what to do, what not to do. And I mean, and it's a lot to consider when you're doing this stuff because you have to think about how much time you have to set up and if it's necessary to detail at home or something. Like, of course, you can at least have them inflated, but do you have to actually put it on the wall or the garland? How far you have to go, and it's different things you just have to consider. What's the actual job you doing? Are you doing just a garland, which it don't take that long, or a wall, which takes maybe longer to, detail when you're doing something with mixed sizes and things like that. So different things you would just have to consider when doing, each job. So that's pretty much done with that, and I will be bringing the blue over. And as you see, the pole, even then, the pink one was like leaning a little bit. But anyway, I'm on site now. We were at a residence, and the first thing was we were setting up right in front of like the deck sliding door. So it was a lot of light coming in versus if we was against a wall. Some of the holes wouldn't, or even not even they was like big holes or small holes, they wouldn't be as visible. So we had a lot of light. Even when you shut it, you can still see like some light coming through because it's still against, like a glass door. Like we shut the shades and things, but we still had some coming through. And yeah, I mean, that's the little things you gotta consider when setting up, and where to set up. And I mean, perhaps we could have moved it somewhere else, but the way the floor what I'm looking for the floor layout, the way it was set up, this is pretty much the best place for us anyway to set up. So but right now I'm just reshaping. I have to pull off some of those 5-inch balloons. If you see me already, I was pulling those off, and I had to fill in those gaps, and we end up pushing it because the floor lamps was kind of leaning a little bit. Well, the pink side most of the time, and I end up just pushing it back a little bit against like the sliding door, which it was much better there. And I'm using like a 260 to just fill in some of those holes, and I'm wrapping it really tight and making sure those does not fall off. And I'm just making like clusters of four balloons to do that. And I end up doing like really focusing on the pink, and I kind of missed some stuff on the blue, but that I was kind of upset about. But as I mentioned in my previous videos, there's so much you can do, on site and without, with time and everything. So, you always just do what you can, kind of thing. And I did take pictures, and I was looking at a picture in the car, and I was outside. I was like, oh, should I go back? And I should have, but I had a little bit of time left. I should have went back and just edited it. And you'll see at the end what I am referring to. But right now I'm just going in, filling in as much, gaps that I can to cover up some of those light spots where the light is coming through it. And then once I do that with the 4-inch balloons, I just add like some mini clusters on top of 5-inch balloons on top. And that is pretty much it for this. I went over everything that I think. So if you get anything out of this video, one would be just remember, what you can do for that whatever event you're setting up for. Because really, in hindsight, I would have just made all those clusters when I was tying them both together. I would have just made a bunch of those and just build everything on site, because it didn't take me too long to build it and fill it in. I think that would have helped with a lot of the floor length problems, because since I was doing it on site and not having to transport it. So next time I may just inflate all the balloons, and I mean they clearly can fit in my vehicle, so I could have just inflated everything and then just built everything on site, because it wouldn't have took that. Most of the time comes with like inflating, double stuffing and things like that, but I had enough time to just build the wall really quickly there, as long as everything was inflated. And that's something I consider next time, as well as using a different technique to fill in those gaps depending on how I am building the wall. As I mentioned, if I'm building it with just all 11-inch balloons, or if I'm mixing in some of those 11 and 17-inch balloons. And another thing is, I don't even have to put the 17-inch balloons in the cluster. I could have still built it with all 11-inch balloons and just added the 17 inches outside of the cluster, if that makes sense. So building it with the 11-inch balloons, and as you may see, some people may tie in some 24-inch balloons, and I can do the same thing with the 17 inches. Just tie them in somewhere, just to make some a different kind of shape to the wall kind of thing. But even after filling in some of these gaps, you can still see like light coming through, because we're against a glass sliding door, so it's gonna be light coming through from the deck part. So it was just some stuff like we just couldn't I just couldn't get around kind of thing. But I try my best to fill in those gaps as much as I can, and get rid of those light spots as much as I can. And that's all you pretty much can do. And you learn for the next time and what to do next time and what to do better. And that is pretty much it, you guys. I'm just filling in some more stuff. Stay tuned. A couple more seconds. Well, stay tuned. We already at the end, but I do have the video of the ginger reveal, so you can watch that as well. And I did get this balloon from Party City. And they filled it up with confetti, and I did make a little popper for them. I added some details at the bottom, as you can see, on the ginger reveal balloon. And this is how everything turned out.
1, 2, 3.